1, a 2, a 1.
It's time for the Better Horses radio show. So let's saddle up and ride as we explore the Western way of life, horses and cows, family and friends, a relationship with the land, and a relationship with God. It's all here on Better Horses Radio. Now let's hit the trails with the Better Horses team.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining Better Horses. Today's show will be a little different. I want you to come along with me as we experience one of the country's oldest traditions, the State Fair. And this State Fair has been operating since 1901 in Sedalia, Missouri. It includes exhibits and competitions of animals, not only with horses, but cattle, sheep, goats, rabbits, and chickens, not to mention homemade craft shows and many food stands. It lasts up to 11 days. The State Fair plays an essential role in keeping agriculture one of Missouri's top industries. So what better way to celebrate family, friends, agriculture than to report from the fairgrounds? So, coming up, we have professional horse trainer and Missouri State Fair Equine Superintendent Randy Conklin. From J.D. Bellis Family Herefords, we'll continue our Better Cattle segment with Jamie Johansson. And from the Yoder Hay Company, located in Westcliff, Colorado, Enos Yoder with his draft horses. You're going to love this episode. But first, let's join Mark Oppold as we start our Better Cattle segment. Mark, the show is yours. What's the headline of the day?
Well, Ed, lots to talk about here as we head to the final 2 weeks of August here and into Labor Day. Of course, school back open. We had grandchildren heading off to college here this past week, and more coming up here this week. On a personal note, my wife Kathy and I celebrated 51 years here on the 18th. Hard to believe, 51 years, but remember that hot day in August, 51 years ago. As you know, I talk about June being kind of wedding month, and a lot of weddings are in June after maybe school's out, graduations from college and the such. But it always seemed like a lot of rural America, a lot of folks, friends we know, August was just as popular, and it was for us 51 years ago. Well, lots going on here. We mentioned the annual Pro Farmer Crop Tour going on this week across the Midwest, and the Superior Livestock Annual Bighorn Classic continues in Sheridan, Wyoming. We'll cover that in just a moment. But real quick, because this crop tour, it's one of the private tours that the grain trade does keep an eye on, outside, of course, USDA. USDA showed us some record or near-record crops here a week or so ago. But the Pro Farmer Tour is one that the trade pays attention to. They're going through here all week. Really, it's there are two different groups, people that aren't familiar with how this works. They have an Eastern Tour that heads out of Noblesville, Indiana, early week here. Then they go through Illinois here, eastern Iowa midweek, then southern Minnesota here Thursday, and gathering with that Western Tour. That Western Tour kicks off in Grand Island, Nebraska. Did kick off. Then they go through eastern Nebraska, western and central Iowa, and meet up with that Eastern Tour in Minnesota, southern Minnesota. And they'll be putting out a number here late this week. So be, again, watching for that. The trade, of course, cattle feeders looking at that as well. We look at this futures trade, and many, wanting to know, have we reached a bottom in here? Well, we think we can confirm, as we mentioned last week, live cattle, October live cattle hit a low, 176.35. That was back on August the 5th. And right now can confirm that would be a seasonal low in here. Wasn't too sure a week ago what October feeder cattle were going to do, but they reached a low 235.35. That was on the 9th of August, and that so far has been able to hold as well. So watch those numbers, write those down. October feeder cattle, 235.35 or better, and October live cattle, 176.35 or better. Looks to be lows that we might confirm in here. We mentioned Superior Bighorn Classic continuing in Sheridan, Wyoming. They had over 212,000 cattle consigned for that auction. We don't have any sale results here as of today, but those will be coming and hopefully maybe sharing those with you last week. By the way, Superior's last major sale of the summer is their Labor Day sale coming up September 4th and 5th, and they already have about 60,000 cattle set up for that sale coming up. And also, as we close things out here, we have the Farm Progress Show next week in Boone, Iowa. But for cattlemen, want to have on your calendar circle these dates, September 10th, 11th, and 12th. That's Husker Harvest Days. Those are held every year, Grand Island, Nebraska. And what makes it different from other farm shows, they have a large cattle handling demonstration each day of that show. So if you're in the Western Corn Belt or can travel there in a week or so, September 10th, 11th, and 12th, Grand Island, Nebraska, Husker Harvest Days. Well, that'll do it for us. Ed, thanks again. And as we say at the end of each of our reports, we wish everyone a profitable week ahead.
Thank you, Mark. We're reporting from the Missouri State Fair. Coming up, professional horse trainer Randy Coughlin and a little education on rooster calling contest.
And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Get quality you can stand on. Hoof Grip is the proprietary formula that provides shock absorption for your animals with no ice buildup, slipping, cracking, or sogginess, making it the safest, most comfortable, and maintenance-free flooring on the market. Hoof Grip installs quickly and easily over existing surfaces, is easy to clean, and withstands extreme heat or cold. From vet offices to barns, wash racks to trailers and more. Visit hoofgrip.com to find a dealer in your area today.
We're here for the hardworking, the resilient. We're for the people who measure their days by what needs to get done, not by hours. Where kids learn responsibility at a young age and generations work side by side. Where work doesn't pause for holidays or bad weather. It just gets harder. Where value and hard work means more than the clothes you wear. We're Kleinschmidt's Western Store, Higginsville, Missouri.
Routine dental examination and treatments are essential for high-quality horse care. To prevent potential problems, a horse's mouth should be examined at least once a year. I'm Dr. Chris Blevins, Equine Field Service Veterinarian at Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center. We can examine the mouth and provide a treatment plan to meet the needs of each client and their horse. Visit us at ksvhc.org, the Veterinary Health Center, to discover, to teach, to heal.
Championship round of the 2024 Missouri State Fair Rooster Crowing Contest. We have joining us today here in the center of the barn 3 contestants from each of our qualifying rounds on Saturday and Sunday. We're going to start right here with Mr. Austin Jacobs and Batman. Now you may notice as we go through here, a lot of these roosters are not in their coops just yet. They're hiding in the dark. We move on to Edgar Allan Poe by Miss Brenda Johnson, Jean Gillespie. Down here on the end, we have Mr. Brody Bartlett and his little rooster, Jaws. And down here to end our row with is Caleb O'Donnell with his prize-winning rooster, Jason. All right, time, a few rules explanations here. You will see our contestants do many things as they try to get their roosters to crow. The name of the game is to get them to crow as many times as possible in 30 minutes. They are allowed to do anything other than touch them. So you'll see them use fans and shiny things and lights and treats and brushes and you name it. They're gonna pull it out of the bag of tricks to try to get them to crow. They'll bring another chicken up to try to get them to compete. I will tell you, chickens compete for noise. So pick your contestant and join us in cheering for them throughout our round. Contestants here in the center that with 3 from each day of our qualifying rounds. Here we have it. In 6th place, Mark Cunningham with Tony P. And 25 crows. In 5th place, Brenda Johnson with Edgar Allan Poe and 30 crows. In 4th place, with 32 crows, Peggy Gates and Mr. P. In 3rd place, with 34 crows, Brody Bartlett with Jaws. In 2nd place, Mr. Caleb O'Donnell with Jason and 37 crows.
Carrie.
And our rooster crowing champion goes to Mr. Austin Jacobs and Batman.
And welcome back to Better Horses. I'm your host, Ed Adams, and we're still reporting right here at the Missouri State Fair in Sedalia, Missouri. And with me today, one of our equine experts, the equine supervisor at the Missouri State Fair, Randy Coughlin. Randy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Randy, naturally, you are the supervisor for all equine going on at the Missouri State Fair, which is really a big event, but you're going from draft horses to minis to mules. You see it all. Tell our audience, what are the things that you have to worry about or what are the things you have to go through just to adjust to all those people coming in and showing here at the Missouri State Fair?
Yeah, with that many different venues, they all require something different. You start out with the mules, they're pretty easy going. They just need their entries in their stalls and they'll take care of themselves. You go through the mini donkeys, the horse pullers. Every event requires something different. The draft horses, they take a lot of special attention. They're the big show attraction here, you know, and it takes a stalling and they want shavings. There's a lot of things they want and we supply for them or help get it for them. And it's a really, everyone's a different challenge. The pony pullers, they kind of take care of themselves, and the draft horse pullers, they come in and show one day, there's no stalling on them. But the stalling and trying to help them out and get everything they need, because a lot of them come from Canada, all over the U.S., so they don't want to haul a lot, and they depend on us to get shavings and bedding and everything for them, and their stalling and campsites and all that stuff kind of help them line out everything.
So you bring up a good point. You're taking local mules, miniatures, actual shows, mounted shooting guys coming in, and now you have the world famous Anheuser-Busch Budweiser Clydesdales that just rolled in. So you're seeing all spectrums here.
Yes, sir. Seeing from the backyard people that maybe the state fair is the only place they come just to go to a fair, and you see the ones that show all over the world. And there'll be some world championship teams and horses here.
Can you describe the draft teams that are going to be coming in here shortly?
Yes, sir. The draft horse hitches will be coming up this weekend. The 6-horse hitches, they're all qualifying to try to go to the finale show of the Classic 6-horse series. So they show all year round to gather points to be able to make it to that show, which is a championship show of everything for the year. The thing about Missouri State Fair here is we've made some changes on our point system. We're the only place in the country that you have a chance for 3 nights of points. You can get triple points here. Most places only single or double points. So we're drawing a lot of people that's really in the point race from all over the country to come here and grab them points.
And we can't do it justice by the radio, but just watching these massive, just majestic animals coming off these semi-trucks. You've got a lot of semis rolling in.
Oh, yes, sir. Every one of them has at least one semi, maybe 2. Then they'll have their camping trailers that they camp in. They bring, it's quite a rig that they bring. And most of them will bring 6 to 8 horses. They'll have 6 for sure to show, and they'll probably bring 2 spares. So they'll have 6 to 8 horses, which is 1 semi-load. They'll have a semi-load of wagons and harness, then their living quarters, and they're gone all summer long, traveling from fair to fair.
Randy, I want to switch gears real quickly. Can you give us some insight on the high school rodeos?
The Junior High and High School National Association is a great deal for the kids. Each state's growing each year. Our national finals this year for both, it's a record high, biggest they've ever been. Contestants are outstanding. Each year, more competitive. Used to be a contestant might make it in 2, 3, or 4 events. Now they're lucky to make it in 1. So it's a great sport, climbing place for rodeo. If you go back to the NFR this year, I think there was only 4 contestants there that didn't come through high school rodeo. So
good point.
It's a great stepping point. There's scholarships, there's money to be won. It's just a great deal for kids that really want a rodeo.
So we want to highly recommend get into the high school rodeo circuit. That's a good way to start.
Yes, sir. It's a great way to start.
Let's talk about the equine, getting into the rodeo, the ranch riding, and all that to getting started with horses. How are you as far as where do you see the horse industry going as far as the pricing, getting started, and the price of horses today?
Oh, the price of horses is today the highest they've ever been. And that's the thing about the rodeo too. There's kids that raise their horses and make their own, and there's families that go out here and pay a tremendous amount of money to win, and not I say win, they may not win. They'll buy a high-dollar horse, and maybe it's too much for their kid, and it doesn't work. But the horse industry, whether it's reining, cutting, rodeo, them horses are really, really good ones are getting really high. And there's maybe dropping a little bit on the lower-end horses, but the good ones are still selling great.
Okay, Randy, I want to dovetail on your experience in dealing with the high school rodeo. What are some of the most common mistakes that you're seeing when people are learning to get into the horses, they get to that intermediate stage? What is one of the fundamentals that we need to concentrate more on as far as horse care and as far as horse riding goes?
For one thing, you need to get a horse that your kid can ride. Don't get a horse that's too powerful for them, something that they can learn on as well. That's one of the most mistakes that people make when they start. They get a horse that's way too hot or too talented for what their child is. They need to start with something that they can learn together and go from there, and then there's no limit to what you can go on up and become. But you need to take care of your horse, the right way, and match the rider and the contestant together. That's the biggest problem.
Exactly. You mentioned you have a cow-calf operation. I'm assuming you use horses for your total spread?
Yes, sir, we do. We do everything on horseback, unless we're going to get everything up and vaccinate or worm. Other than that, if there's one sick, we catch them in the pasture and doctor them, and everything's done by horseback.
That means a lot of skilled roping that you have to do. So, and as far as teaching that, I'm sure you do that also.
Yes, we do that. My wife gives some clinics on barrel racing and different things, helps some of the local girls and that.
Right.
Wherever in Reno, people come out and use it and that. Whatever we can do to help promote the future of the horse industry in general.
Perfect. Randy, first of all, I want to say thank you for joining us here on Better Horses. We appreciate everything you do, and we'd love to have you come back on the air.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, we've been talking to Randy Coughlin, who is also the supervisor at the Missouri State Fair, and we're going to have more Better Horses right after these messages.
And reserve went to Kimber Woodworth at Chillicothe with LaRonda. Let's give them a big round of applause, please.
And continuing our reporting from the Missouri State Fair, I'm your host, Ed Adams, with Better Horses. We're going to talk a little better cattle. And I'm very excited to talk about one of our commissioners here at the Missouri State Fair. Her name is Jamie Johansson, and she's with J.D. Bellis Herefords, and she's located in Lebanon, Missouri. And welcome to Better Horses.
Thank you, Ed. I'm excited to be here at the Missouri State Fair. I'm born and raised here, showing cattle and running around the FFA building, and now I get to serve with you.
You know, it's exciting because you've been going here for a very long time. You're a very young person, but how old were you when you first came here?
I came to my very first Missouri State Fair at 2 years old.
And sounding from your name at Herefords, you've got a lot of cattle that you like to go to. Let's talk about the cattle show and how it progressed through this year, and what have you been seeing out there so far?
Well, we've just about wrapped up the beef shows at the Missouri State Fair. Today they're showing Red Angus. We've had Angus Charolais, Gelbvieh, Herefords are my babies, Simmental, and the dairy cattle are moving now. We've not had record numbers. Steer show was yesterday, great turnout, but we've had beautiful weather and smiles throughout the entire barn.
You know, you have to really give it to the judges out there, but the exhibitors have done a wonderful job out there. We've seen a lot of talented and really good confirmations on these cattle. And talk about your Charolais and Hereford cross that you're displaying and how you did.
Well, my daughter is 10 years old, and she is exhibiting in her second Missouri State Fair, and she had 2 Hereford heifers and 1 Charolais heifer. My husband, I married a Charolais boy, and I'm a Hereford girl, and we've only had a few whoopsies over the years, but it's been fun to have that next generation exhibiting in the show ring. We had a few class winners, and we had a few excited placings. Nothing big, but I as a mom, I'm proud to see her doing it herself, and she loves it, and she works hard, and she's been working hard at it all year.
You know, you've been in the cattle industry for a long time, so let's talk about actually placing, and how do you encourage people to come out here and show your cattle and some of the benefits of that?
Well, you know, it all actually comes back to marketing. You know, think we as breeders, we're raising cattle on the farm that we want we're bringing cattle to the show ring that we want to thrive in the fields. We talk about phenotype and genotype, and phenotype is what you visually see in the show ring. However, those phenotypes don't always end up in the pastures. Okay, so we want a cow that can milk, structurally correct, and sound. We want them to be thick, muscle is meat, and we want to be able to have those. So when we bring our cattle to the show, phonetically or phenotype, we can see that they're pretty, you know, feminine fronted, thick throughout, deep bodied, structurally correct, and sound. However, when you look at their numbers, their EPDs, their expected progeny differences, you can look at those numbers and know that they also are going to thrive in a pasture, and that's where the marketing comes in. So we're branding our breed, but we're also branding my farm when we exhibit here at the State Fair. And so we want people to come out and look, and they're going to be looking at those numbers, they're going to be looking at the pedigrees, who's that sire, who's that dam, and planning for their futures herds at home.
And you had success with the Charolais and the Hereford cross.
Yeah, at home we didn't naturally think that was going to be like our path going forward. But when it comes to adding that hybrid vigor into that, you know, you've got the carcass quality of a Charolais, and you've got the maternal qualities of that Hereford. And everybody wants a black hide, but from a Charolais Hereford girl, that combo works well.
You know, you find that the price of cattle is actually holding up very, very well. So that makes it hard to get into the game. But actually, when you're over there established, it makes it easy to maintain your herd. What do you see going forward as far as the cattle industry?
Well, overall, I mean, the national herd number is still pretty low. And so even though we are seeing prices fluctuate a little bit today, we're thinking like late summer, early fall. But going forward, we still need more cattle in the feed yards. We still need to be providing that domestic beef. And so I think that the industry throughout the fall and winter months will still thrive.
You know, we concentrate on agriculture as a big part, as a big base of our country. Coming to state fairs like this, it pushes not only farming and ranching, but a lot of cattle and things of that sort. So do you see a lot of first-time agricultural people coming in?
I think that every day. This year's theme at the Missouri State Fair is Summer's Best Story. And 100% of the time, or every year I've come here, I have another best story to share. And I think that there's many people that are once, twice, 3 or 4 times removed from the family farm that come here. And I think it's our job as agriculturalists to make ourselves available so that we continue to tell our story about agriculture. Because if we're not telling it, then someone else is, and it's probably not the right story. They're misinformed. So Director Chen always says that the Missouri State Fair is a family reunion, and it truly is. But when we come to this, it's our job to make sure that we're opening our doors and showcasing Missouri agriculture all 11 days.
It was fun watching the grand champion of the event that went on, especially with the crosses. The steer show yesterday. So looking at that and going into what you were talking about, where do you see, as far as you as a breeder, where do you see going forward what new people getting into the industry for the very first time, how they can get started?
Well, you learn from the older peers and the other kids in the ring and in those barns. And I think that you jump in and you keep your eyes open and your ears open, and you can really practice that hard work and dedication, because as I pass down what my knowledge to my kids, they're also looking at those older exhibitors in the barns, and they're learning from them, how to feed, how to get one, how much work did you have to put in to get that much hair? Well, because they're getting rinsed and worked every day. The work doesn't start at the Missouri State Fair. The work started months and months and months ago. And this is a time for the Missouri State Fair to showcase the hard work that these youngsters have put in the entire year. And so for new people coming out, get in there, ask questions, and don't be afraid to make mistakes, because we're learning something new every day.
Now, for our listeners out there, just to let you know, we're talking better cattle, but we're also talking better horses. She rides.
I do.
You also have your own farm horses out there.
Yeah. I grew up as a Missouri Fox, or my grandpa raised Missouri Foxtrotters, so I didn't know anything but a really good gaited horse growing up, and now I ride quarter horses, ranch horses, and we don't show or anything like that, and don't do anything fancy, but I still get to ride my grandpa's old Hereford saddle, and it's pretty heartwarming to saddle up on that and work cattle. Our farm is in the rolling hills of the Ozarks, and we grow rock trees and cows. And there's a lot of places that on foot it's hard and you can't get a truck in, but we can ride a horse.
Okay, so rock solid cattle over there, rock solid horses. Well, I want to thank Jamie Johansson, who's also on the commission of the Missouri State Fair, and she's also breeding in the heart of the Midwest at Lebanon, Missouri. We'll be right back. We're going to have more better cattle and better horses coming your way right after these messages.
He's got a lot of bone, he's got a lot of length of the body. His issue is that he is thin and harsh to the touch down his top, as they need his top 3 yards. He needs a little more on him.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dylan Luter, a specialist in equine performance medicine at the Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center. Our new service focuses on lameness diagnosis, advanced imaging, physical therapy, and regenerative medicine for horses with injuries preventing them from performing at their best. We can treat a variety of conditions and design a customized rehabilitation plan to meet the needs of each client and their horse. Visit us at ksvhc.org, the Veterinary Health Center, to discover, to teach, to heal.
Hi, I'm Tommy with Heritage Tractor. Whether you're looking to maintain your yard or your whole ranching operation, Heritage Tractor has John Deere mower and tractor packages that make work fly by. With a variety of horsepower and attachment configurations, we have a package to best fit your needs and budget. To learn more about these exclusive packages, visit us in store or online at heritagetractor.com.
Legendary products, extraordinary service, that's our heritage.
Established in 1956, the Pinto Horse Association of America was formed to welcome all types of equines and maintain their show records and pedigrees. PTHA currently has over 88,000 members with 157,000 registered pintos. There are currently 3 separate registries: the Color Registry, the Solid Registry, and the Long Ear Registry. We welcome all levels of competition within a family-friendly environment. Become a member, register, and add value to your horse. For more information, check out the website pintoworld.com.
Get quality you can stand on. Hoof Grip is the proprietary formula that provides shock absorption for your animals with no ice buildup, slipping, cracking, or sogginess, making it the safest, most comfortable, and maintenance-free flooring on the market. Hoof Grip installs quickly and easily over existing surfaces, is easy to clean, and withstands extreme heat or cold. From vet offices to barns, wash racks to trailers and more. Visit hoofgrip.com to find a dealer in your area today.
We're here for the hardworking, the resilient. We're for the people who measure their days by what needs to get done, not by hours. Where kids learn responsibility at a young age and generations work side by side. Where work doesn't pause for holidays or bad weather. It just gets harder. Where value and hard work means more than the clothes you wear. We're Kleinschmidt's Western Store, Higginsville, Missouri.
It's time to go with United Mosquito and Fly Control's premier fly system for fly control in your barn, providing relief for horses from the stress of fighting flies, and also makes the barn more pleasant for everyone in the barn. Easy, effective, and safe. With United Mosquito and Fly Control, we provide a full service. You as the barn owner don't have to do anything. We go everywhere and take care of everything with our friendly fast service. Call today at 913-558-3814 or email Paul at unitedmosquito.com.
Coming to you from Westcliff, Colorado, we've got the Stompin' Bertrand Mares, Yoder Hay Company, Enos Yoder on the lines. Put 'em on the rail at the track, boys, put 'em on the rail at the track.
And welcome back to Better Horses. We are so glad you are with us. And I want to tell you something about what's really great about the state fairs, and more specifically here at the Missouri State Fair, is watching these majestic animals called draft horses. And going to a draft horse show is probably one of the most fascinating things anybody can go to. And with me today from the Yoder Hay Company, Enos Yoder, who is one of the drivers and the 8-hitch team or 6-hitch team, depending on which show he's going into, on the Percheron draft horse shows. We'd like to introduce Enos Yoder from the Yoder Draft Company. Enos, thank you for joining Better Horses.
Yes, great to be with you.
Now, you are in Colorado, and I always like to ask everyone at the very beginning, could you give me your experience level and how you got into driving these big animals?
Okay, great. Yeah, so I grew up on an Amish farm, so we farmed with these big horses, pulled the plows, planted the corn, did all that. And then in 2007, we moved out west into Colorado and started doing a lot of haying and all that. And that's when I started, in 2013, we started showing these big Percheron horses. And yeah, it's just amazing.
You know, I think for our listening audience to describe what type of draft horses you can choose from, can you give us a difference of what a Percheron has the advantage of versus the other big draft horses?
Yes. So my dad grew up with Belgians, and during farming, we switched to Percherons. But what I see in the draft horse industry right now is the Percheron horse has a little more stamina, a little more energy. The Belgians are very similar. You know, they're also great in the fields. The Clydesdales are, if I can say it, they're just more like a Purdy horse. They aren't quite the heart that the Percheron and the Belgians do. And then the Percherons will most likely win the show if you got a few of each there, although Belgians have won. Percherons are just very athletic.
And, well, as far as a show horse on Clydesdales, we are graced with the Budweiser Clydesdales, and that's why they're here at the Missouri State Fair. And you mentioned that the Percheron seems to be more athletic and more showmanship out there in the teams. Do you run a 2-hitch, 6-hitch, and 8-hitch teams? What's kind of the rules in the draft horse show?
Yeah, so there's classes for 2 horses up to 8 horses. And we run all of them. Usually at the show, we do each one. Everybody comes over for the 6, and there's a few shows that there's an 8-horse hitch. I always say when I get the extra 8 lines out for the 8-horse hitch, it's just a little bit crazy. One man trying to control 8 head, and the speed we drive and the tight circles, but it's a thrill. It's quite a thrill when you come pounding down through there. And we all know if them 8 horses weren't trained properly, they could take you on a big ride.
You know, that segues into a nice category about safety and just how dangerous can this get. And with all of your line of experience, what are all the close calls that you've had?
You know, I've been very lucky showing. As far as any wrecks at a show, I've never had any. Training at home, there's been a few. You know, you might have a runaway or so. I remember when I was a kid on the plow with 6 head, I had a bad wreck. And, you know, it consisted of horses getting tangled up, and none of them got hurt, but just the idea of tangling up, harness being cut, and a lot of work to get things back. But I've been very fortunate, and it's a lot of training goes into this. Like when we first start a 3-year-old, he probably won't hit the show ring for about a year. It takes at least 6 months of training before they ever go to the show ring.
You know, you keep mentioning the field. Do you still plow these fields with these horses?
We do some haying. We don't, where we're at now, we just got hay ground. So we rake hay and bale some hay with them. But that's our business, is hay. So we do some of that, but throughout the state fairs, we travel quite a lot, and that's mostly just showing. And these horses get used to it. They know when they come through that gate and the crowd starts cheering, they just love it. And that makes a horse perform. They drive off that energy. And pretty much the louder the crowd is, the better these horses will perform. Once they get, you know, I got a few mares in my group now that are 8 and 9 years old, and they just know. They know when we come through there to show their high step and bring it to the top.
You know what I find fascinating is when you get into the arena, there are normally 2, 3, 4, and in some cases 5 and 6 other teams in the arena. You can't train for that. So how do you prepare a horse for that environment?
Well, that's a very good question. It's hard to train for that. We do train a little bit. Sometimes at home we'll hook 2 or 3 teams and drive at each other. You know, when we do that reverse, sometimes you're hit at, you know, at what looks to be straight onto that other hitch, and then we turn when we get about 10 feet close. But that takes experience. And probably the best way to say it is we only put one new one in at a time till that horse is totally, you know. So if we have to replace one with a young horse, it's only the one that we're training in that group. If you were to take 6 new ones, yes, you would probably have a little more difficulties.
Yeah, you turn it into a rodeo.
That's right. Then it might be a rodeo.
It might be a rodeo. And if you're just joining us, we're talking to Enos Yoder at the Yoder Hay Company, located in Colorado. And they are truly a supreme team and draft horse show. I'll tell you what, Enos, I got this question for you, but what's the longevity of these horses, and how long can you push them to get into this environment so that they can keep showing? What's the age limit, or is there one?
Yes, there is. I would say the oldest one I've had in my hitch was 18 years old. We do like retiring them in that anywhere from 15 to 20 is probably the retiree age. That don't mean they can't do it anymore. We just try to keep young ones coming on. There's many times we try to retire one and we have to go back and bring her back in because the young one ain't quite ready. So, but I would say 15 to 20 would be that age that we try to retire. And out here, they just get turned out in this beautiful pasture and mountains, and that's how we try to retire them.
You know, that's great to hear. And I think everybody nationwide would love to hear that, more of those stories. And then for the other group of people was obviously going to ask you, well, could we take them, or could you retire them in a very non-showmanship and just as an easy rider type draft, pulling carts and things of that sort. Is that something that you do?
Yes, I have a couple retirees that, I just think of the one lady in Denver, Colorado. She's got a nice, we got to see the facilities and make sure they get great care, but she did take a mare from us, and we'll get pictures once a month, and yeah, she just plays with them, keeps them, gives them a little work, but they're not under a lot of pressure, so to say.
Yeah, what I also noticed too when you were taking care of your horses, that you probably see these other draft teams everywhere you go. Can you talk about your travel schedule? Because you guys are rolling in with big rigs, and the amount of, attention, labor, and cost to do something like this is a whole new appreciation level. But just kind of give us an idea of what the traveling schedule of these horses is like.
Yeah, so at the Missouri State Fair, from there we go to Minnesota State Fair, and that's right at 10 hours. We will do that in one drive. We stop about every 4 hours, and water and hay. We have hay feeders in the truck. Most of these semis will hold 9 draft horses, hitch wagon, and 8 harness with quite a bit of feed. It's amazing what all goes in these big rigs. We personally travel with one semi, and then we have our camper and a pickup truck pulling that. But yeah, one of these horses, if they are for sale or were for sale, they can bring anywhere from 50 to 180,000. So there's a lot of money involved in this game. And yes, I would say for ourselves, our family, we use it to advertise our hay. We ship hay all over the country, and it's known by, us showing these horses is how we advertise mostly.
I want to make sure that we bring enough tension, because I want to talk to you about the Yoder Hay Company. But before we get off these draft horse shows, a lot of people in the stands at the Matheson Center there at the Missouri State Fair asked me the point system and how are they scoring? What are you going for? Is there a big prize at the end? Can you walk us through just the draft horse show point system and exactly how the competition works?
Yes. So the point system is directly off of the 6-horse hitch only. So when you go to a show, they might have 1, 2, or 3 night classes for the 6-horse hitch. It's a classic. We call it the Classic Series 6-horse hitch. And then let's say you have 10 exhibitors, 10 6s. So you go in and they'll show them all. The top hitch would get 10 points. The second would get 9 and on down. And then the top 5 of each breed, Percheron, Belgian, and Clydesdale, will travel throughout the year, get their points, and the top 5 of those will go to the Classic Series Finals, which is held in Shipshewana, Indiana in September. So we're almost down to the last couple shows for these points. And yes, the big money's at the end, at the last show, and the energy that goes into that show is amazing. And we travel all over. There's probably 200 6-horse hitches in the United States scattered. And then whatever show is closest with the most hitches is where we try to go to get more points. There's shows that have up to 27 6-horse hitches. So that's where you want to go to get the big points. We always love to go to the Missouri State Fair. That arena is air conditioned. My mares come in there and it just lifts them up. So that's kind of how the point system works.
I don't think we appreciated the fact that you said there's 200 6-hitch teams in the United States today.
Yes, with every breed included.
That's amazing. I had no idea the competition was that stiff.
Yeah, it's very steep.
They are truly great animals, but you are providing for these animals, because before we get into what you do in the hay company, they consume a tremendous amount of hay, taking your average horse, and but these draft horses, these are huge animals. Give us an idea from those who are in the equine industry, just how much grain are you going through on a daily basis for just one of your horses?
Yeah, so it's pretty well double of a average saddle horse. And let's say a bale of hay, the small squares, you know, you can probably feed 6 to 8 horses with that, and I can barely feed 4 out of one bale. And of course, that's 3 times a day. So you can figure on almost 50 pounds of hay per day per horse. And on top of that, the grain. These big girls and boys, they eat a lot. And you can tell when they come in that show ring, the way they look, that they're very well taken care of.
They're very well fed, and that kind of parlays nicely within the Yoder Hay Company. Talk to me about your company. I know it's located in Colorado, but that's also the Yoder Draft Horses show. Draft Horses. How does that promote you on your hay company? And tell me about your hay company, how long you've been in business, and how your distribution works.
Yeah, so when we moved out here in 2007, Westcliff, Colorado, it's up in the high elevation country. We put up a lot of hay, that's our business, and a lot of Timothy hay and alfalfa. Most horses will do the best on Timothy. It's very good, low sugar grass. And yeah, we started out pretty small. We just deliver within 100 miles. Now we're shipping hay clear into Pennsylvania, down south, Arizona, Indiana, Ohio. Probably average a semi-load or 2 a day that we ship, and we're baling all summer. We cover right at 10,000 acres. There's a crew for the haying, and there's a crew for the horses showing and training, and it grew into a much bigger business than I ever thought it would, but I love to supply good quality hay for horses. That's what we supply, is horses only for the most part.
That's fantastic. And if people wanted to get a hold of you at the Yoder Hay Company, what's the best contact information you can provide?
So the best is always pick up the phone and call 719-371-0248 or give us a text. I am on Facebook, Enos Yoder, but yeah, just call or text is probably the best.
And our final question, for those who want to get into driving and get into draft horse, what do you recommend being their first steps they should learn and they should go towards?
Well, that's a great question. If you're looking to get a horse with no horse experience and if draft horses, if there's a lot of people that are in the quarter horses and they see this draft, or they go to show, they see these draft horses, they are truly gentle giants, but the height, the size will put fear in a lot of people till they understand they are actually fairly gentle for the most part. And I would just recommend, find somebody local, or, I always know a lot of people that I could recommend, but just find somebody with draft horses and make sure you don't just go to the auction and buy the one that people want to get rid of. It's always good to buy a young one or one that's well trained, of course, but like everything, there's some out there that have been ruined or spoiled, and takes a lot of work to get them back, and that's not always good for somebody starting in. So where to send them is, one good place would probably be the Draft Horse Associations. If you just click that, you'll come up in quite a few boards that could recommend you where to go, wherever, something local. And I'm always there to help if you need help myself.
Enos, I want to thank you for joining Better Horses. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on board, but more importantly, being at the Missouri State Fair, I have a whole new appreciation of how hard you guys work and how much it is truly amazing how you handle these majestic animals. And above everyone in the equine industry, we thank you for everything you do and everything you do at the Yoder Hay Company. And we've been talking to Enos Yoder, with the Yoder Hay Company. He has a supreme team of draft horses there in Westcliff, Colorado. If you missed it, you can give him a shout at area code 719-371-0248 or check him out on Facebook. And that pretty much wraps up our show. And I want to thank you all for listening. And above all, if you miss any of our shows, be sure to check us out on our podcast by simply searching for Better Horses. And if you've missed any of our TV shows, and for those who don't know it, we do have a TV show airing on RFD, the Cowboy Channel, and now streaming on Equus TV. You can see our encore shows on YouTube channel simply by searching Better Horses. And special thanks to our team behind the scenes, radio producer Brianna Johnson, our TV producer Kelly Creech. And that wraps it up for this week. Appreciate you joining us. And from all of us here at Better Horses, we want to thank you all for being good buckaroos and buckarettes. Mind your mom and dads out there. Be brave, but don't take any chances. Until next time, I'm Ed Adams. Happy trails, and always ride for the brand.